Okay, so I hope yesterday's lesson made a little bit of sense. I hope so. It's complicated sometimes, but you need to understand how interest works, okay? Otherwise, you're going to end up paying a lot of interest. You don't want that. You want money in your pocket, okay? So here's some formulas that I'm going to give you, okay? To figure out the loan you're going to have to take out, you take the price of the car. I will say this, after tax. Right? You take the car you want to buy, you apply any taxes that you may incur, and you're going to subtract your down payment if you have one. So price after tax, subtract the down payment, that would be the loan you'd have to take out, right? You're basically telling the bank, hey, this is the car I'm buying, 10 grand. I might have 2 grand saved up. So I still need to borrow 8 grand from you, right? So you're figuring out the loan, okay? Here's your monthly payment formula. I call this PMT, you noticed yesterday already. I take the loan, so I will repeat some of this. Price minus down, which is called the loan, right? This thing is still the loan. But I like to show it like this because that way students do not forget to subtract the down payment. This is on page 27. And you divide this by 1,000. There's a table rate per $1,000 that I'm going to show you. And some of you are going to recognize that from grade 11. Table rate. Make sure you understand that. I'm going to ask you to scratch this. Table rate is not on page 18 anymore. So you guys get rid of it. As I make adjustments, things change, right? Okay, so this is how you would get your payment. Make sure you have these formulas on your study sheet. Total paid to the bank, right? I call this total paid to the bank. This is the entire amount you're going to end up having to pay them again. You take your payment, you multiply that by 12 months, and you multiply all of that by the number of years, that you will have the loan for. So let's say it's a 4-year loan, 12 times 4, right? That's 48 payments of whatever that payment is, okay? So that's how much you will have paid back to the bank. Total interest on loan, this is what we call TI. We talked about TPB yesterday, total paid to the bank. We talked about total interest. Total interest is does this look familiar to you, what I just did there? It looks just like the previous line, doesn't it? Yeah. So to find the total interest, we figure out how much we paid the bank, and we will subtract the loan from it. Okay. So you're basically saying, hey, I started off with this much, but I paid you back this much. The difference between those two amounts, I need you to understand this is paid to the bank. TPB, that is. Okay. Interest paid on, so there's TI, right? But there's also interest paid on the first month, and that's very important. First month only this is, okay? First month only. I is equal to loan times interest rate divided by what do you always have to divide your interest rate by? It's always as a percentage. So you divide it by 100, right? So we divide that by 100. We take all of this. And this answer, right, has to be divided by 12. Otherwise, you're going to find out the interest for the entire year. You just want the interest for that 1 month. That's why we divide whatever we get here by 12. That's very important. This is the one that a lot of students forget. So I'm just going to make sure you, right? So it's the first month interest, lowercase I. This is how you find it. Notice that this says interest rate. This one says table rate. Some students take this number and they plug it in here. Right? I will say this. Stated as a percentage. Page 27. Total paid for the car. You need to basically take your down payment and add the total paid to the bank to that. So let me give you a different version of this, a longer, right? Total paid for the car. You take your down payment plus whatever total paid to the bank is, which is still, it never changes, payment times 12 times the number of years. I'll tell you this. These formulas almost exactly come back for home finance. That's the last unit we'll be doing in this course. The only change will be that instead of loan, a loan for a house is called a mortgage. That's the only difference. But everything else will basically stay the same. And instead of total paid for the car, we'll call it total paid for the house. We'll take our down payment and we'll add whatever we pay at the bank. So I'm letting you know already that this will be used for both units down the road. Okay, so there it is. And now I will make a note down here because I worked through this whole booklet, right? And then I go back and make some notes to help you out so you're not falling into a trap, right? Usually the purchase price includes taxes, okay? But you have to read carefully. What I'm trying to say here is don't always assume you need to add taxes. You just read the question carefully. The province has done both in the past. Like most of the time they don't worry about it, but sometimes like, hey, this is the price before taxes. They will say before taxes. That's a cue. Like, oh, that means I need to add taxes to that car. Okay, so these formulas need to find their way to your study sheet as early as tomorrow, okay? So let's flip over and do some math here. Let's put this to the test. And I'll do one and then you'll do one, okay? For the first example only, I provided a snapshot of a table here that is much bigger than this. So let's go and find it. It's on page 32. Whoa, right? What does this table do? Well, it allows you to find, it says it on top here, personal loan payment calculator. Watch what it says. Monthly payment per $1,000. You can highlight that part. Per $1,000. This is on page 32. Page 32. That's why we divide whatever we get here by 1,000. It's because this is per $1,000. You know how it's percent divided by 100? Per 1,000 divided by 1,000, right? So this would be principal and interest combined. Remember I said it's blended? You can write that down here, blended. Right? We blend principal and interest together into the payment. So on the left here, you have your interest rates. They go up by 0.25%. See? All the way down to 12%. That's as high as we can go here. And then on the top here is your term. How long will you take to pay it off? Will you pay it in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? It depends, right? So your goal is always to match, like, what's the interest rate that they're giving me and how many years am I taking to pay it off? And you got to match them, right? You got to match whatever interest rate matches the term. Okay. What happens, let's just look at the very first one, 3%. What happens to your monthly payment the longer you take to pay it off? It decreases, right? So if you want a lower payment, take longer to pay it off. Well, what do you think is going to happen to the total interest paid? The total interest you pay the bank at the end of the day, the longer it takes, the more interest you're going to pay. Even though your payment looks smaller, they're charging you more interest. We'll do that in a bit. Right? And obviously, as the interest rate goes up, watch this. As the interest rate goes up, so does your payment. That one I think you can wrap your head around, right? And so keep that in mind. The table actually gives you some clues sometimes. All right, let's go back here. This first question has no down payment. Watch that. Okay. You need to borrow $31,500 to buy a new car. Do we need to add taxes here? No, because it's saying that's what you need to borrow. That's going to be your loan, right? The dealership offers you a 5-year loan at 3.5%, right? No down payment, right? You're saying, sweet, I don't have money anyway, so no down payment, right? I'll just get the whole thing, put the whole thing on the loan, right? So we're asked to find the monthly payment, calculate the monthly payment. So we use our formula. Payment is $31,500. There's no down, right? I'm going to go minus 0 just to prove the point, right? Using my formula. And my table rate needs to be divided by 1,000 or else you'll get an outrageous payment, right? It'll be huge. So you match 3.5% with 5 years. So you kind of go over here and you match that one. That's the one. 1819 is that the one that comes with you. 1819. From now on, you need to go back to the big chart, right? On page 32. So this is my loan, which I call loan. Make sure you mark that loan, right? So let's figure out our payment. 31,500 times 1819. I hit equals, then I go divided by 1,000. And really what it does is just shift the decimal. Okay? So it's 572. What do I round that to? The bank would say 99, right? 99 per month. That's your payment. This is fixed. For the entire 5 years, you're going to be paying $572.99 for that car. It's very accurate. If I use my iPad, it would be off maybe by a couple of cents. Okay, so that's what it is. So the total amount paid to the bank in 5 years. Total paid to the bank. Okay, I got that one. Total paid to the bank. It will be my payment times 12 months. I don't do the months later. I don't write that down, but for now, I will say it's this. And why am I doing it like that, right? 572.99. What's 5 times 12? How many payments? 60, right? So I want you to see that it's 60 months in total that you're making these payments for. Right? So 572.99 times 60. Please make sure that this number, whatever you're getting here, is bigger than what you borrow, right? And it is. Okay. So this is 34,379 and 4.4. You need to make sure we add the 0, right? This is how much you paid the bank after you're said and done. Now you know why they make money, right? Total interest paid for the loan. That is also known as, there are two ways we call total interest: finance charge or the cost of borrowing. Okay? I will do this exactly the same way again. 572.99 times 12 times 5. However, here I need to go minus the loan, which is 31,500. I can just copy this answer from up here. So 42,379.40 minus 31,500. I already have that on my calculator here. So I'm just going to subtract it. So overall, you will have paid this much. This is the finance charge. Right? Finance charge or total interest. It's the same thing. Are you doing okay? I'm using the formulas, okay? The amount of interest paid, interest and principal paid on the first month. Can you highlight that part? The first month's payment only. Remember, we're zooming in, right? You zoom in to payment, which means that this is lowercase I and this is lowercase p we're talking about. Okay. Let's put the payment amount here, 572.99. That payment breaks down into what we call principal and the interest. We're going to fill this in later. Sometimes I have like a bar. Okay. So to find the interest, always start with this. Start with finding the interest. What does the formula call for? 31,500. The loan, times, what's my interest rate? It's 3.5, right? I'm going to divide that by 100. And that answer, I'm going to divide by 12. Down the road, you're probably not going to do this step. You're just going to divide it and plug it in there as is. 31,500 times 0.035. Do not round this one. Divide that by 12. And I'm going to do it like this. If you ever have calculator issues, please ask me for help. I will show you how to use it properly. If you're typing this in and you're not getting what I'm getting, talk to me. I'll help you out. Okay, so can I just say something here? This number cannot be bigger than your payment. Because remember, we're zooming into one payment when we're figuring out the two components that make up that payment. Because some students forget to divide by 12 and they put down like 1,102.50, right? It's like, wait a minute, your payment is only 572, right? Can't be bigger than that. So remember that. So let's circle this. And so we know that this is 91.88. Therefore, the principal will be payment minus I. Okay, so 572.99 minus 91.88. I have the answer right here. But anyways, I like to work it through with you step by step. Okay, that's your principal right there. Guys, if you have one, you have the other. You can just subtract. But if you don't have either one, you need to start this route and then figure out P there. Okay, guys, I want you to try one before we leave today. But before you do that, I want to give you a little bit of help, right? The next one you do is going to have a down payment. So you know how I went minus 0? This is not going to be 0, right, for you. Which means that this bracket here, this amount that you're borrowing is not going to be the entire cost of the car. It's going to be less, right? So this loan amount, can you do this with me here? I'm just going to focus on the loan here. The loan came over here when we figured out the total interest, right? That loan came here, and it also came right here, right? So the loan that we figured out way at the beginning was used to figure out the total interest. It was also used to figure out interest just that first month. Okay, so you need to figure out the loan right away. And this chart here, you're going to have to use the big one on page 32. So you can go for it. And remember, you got to attempt it. You got to attempt it. It's okay if you get it wrong. I will go over it and you will correct it at the end. Okay? So go to page 29. Pretend like this is your first AC that you're getting. See how you do. Page 29. To give me a dislike if you want. If you look at February 10th posting, some of you did this already, so you don't have to worry about it. But on page 19, we have the pros and cons of buying a used car from a dealer as opposed to private, right? So knowing the differences, if you want to just write this down, February 10th posting, it's there. It's all online.